Hi guys, this is video tutorial for NeutrinoParticles Editor, and in this tutorial I will continue to tell about emitter guide, and we will make such sparkles effect. You can see it in preview window. So we will use emitter guide to create it mostly, and we will touch such interesting things like attaching one emitter to particles of another one. We will use a little bit of physics. Also, we will use turbulence for physics, and basic texture grids for particles textures. So let's look at this effect and analyze it a little. To make it, I will use two different emitters. One emitter will be parent emitter, and it will shoot particles rarely, once per 5 seconds approximately, and this particle will fly by the path, make this loop, and the second emitter will be attached to particles of parent emitter. It will be child emitter, and this second emitter will emit sparkles particles. So let's start to make this effect by creating new particles system. First of all, let's create a parent emitter with parent particles. I will rename emitter to parent, and we need to particles to fly by the path. I will set one particle per 5 seconds and change in position to move along path, and create new path for particles. Okay, so each particle makes loop and disappears. Okay, let's create the second child emitter. Child emitter will be attached to parent emitter, so to make that we will use emitter scheme, but we will not go deep into this scheme, just only use one block of it. And let's go to parent emitter, switch to blocks palette, drag attached emitter to emitter scheme, and change connected emitter to, oh no, now we edit in child emitter, so I'll delete this block, select parent emitter, drag again attached emitter, and as connected emitter to it I select child. Okay, now we have strange particles behavior, and let's change it. First of all, I want to turn off child emitter and to leave only connected to parent particles instances of this emitter. So I go to click to child and turn off standalone switch. So our child emitter disappeared. It is not standalone anymore. We have only parent emitter as standalone, and instances of child emitter are connected to parent particles only. So now let's tune child emitter. I go to emitter guide again, and let's change generation properties. Now all particles generated periodically. I will change it to spent distance. So each particle from child emitter will be generated after 5 pixels this emitter spent. We have a lot of particles going down. To slow them down, I will use motion with forces for changing position. Now we have steady motion turned on. So for all particles we have some start velocity, and this velocity is constant. It doesn't change along particle's life. So I will use motion with forces to enable physics and to enable air resistance, for example, to slow down particles. So I make air resistance 1. Now some air makes influence to particles, or even 2 air resistance. Next step is to increase maximum particles number for child emitter. You can click at child emitter and maximum particles increase to 400, for example. Okay, it's enough. It's enough to show all particles that should be generated. So let's make they appear properly. I select texture for particles and will use this sparkles texture atlas. It's a texture grid which has four different sub-images. So I need to turn on texture grid, specify grid size for pair 1, and frame index I'll set to random value from 0 to 4. So each particle will have a random sub-image from our texture grid. So let's play with size of these particles. I'll set start size to random value from 10 to 30. Okay, and also I'll set a multiplier to change their size over particles life. And this multiplier I'll set to this graph to make particles blink a little. Also, I'll change lifetime of all particles from constant value 2 seconds to random value from 0 to 3 seconds. And now we have a little diversity in our effect. Now also let's increase starting velocity. It is now 100. So starting velocity now is random vector with a length 100. So it points in random direction, and speed is 100 per second. I will change it to from 200s to 400s. Yep. And let's add a little turbulence. We have now only one force in our physics settings. You can see all physics settings here. Air resistance 2. I will tell about it later. We have one force, directed force, which points down and which has length 100. You can think about it like about gravity, which points down. We can change from 100 to 400, so particles will be attracted down a little more. But I'll leave 100, and I will add new force, which will be turbulence. And you can see all particles are flying with a little turbulence. Turbulence has two main parameters. One is smoothness and second is scale. Smoothness is you can change smoothness to 3000, and it changes density of our air turbulence texture. So I will leave 1000, and we'll change scale to 400 to make this turbulence influence much more to particles. Okay, so now we have particles flying with turbulence, and let's turn off parent particle. I'll go to parent emitter, click to appearance properties, and turn off exportable switch. So exportable switch specifies that when it is turned on, you will see geometry of each particle. When you turn it off, all particles are processed, computed, updated, but you won't see them. In our case, we attached different emitter to these particles, so we don't see them, but we can use their behavior to drag attached emitter. So okay, I told you about air resistance and physics. So about air resistance, this parameter this parameter tunes density of environment, of air where particles are flying. So if you set it to 0, there will no density at all, and all particles will fly on very big velocities. So good values for air resistance from 0 to 5 or 6. You can change it to 1 and see the result. 2, a little more density for air, and 5, yeah, 2. The air has very big density, and when you set air resistance to 5, so you can play with this parameter to achieve your desired behavior. You need to get used to this parameter, so you need to spend a couple of minutes by playing with them. So I leave air resistance 2. Okay, and that's it. We have our flying sparkles, which you can easily tune by changing path where these particles are flying. You can change number of particles by changing distance where new particles is generated. Set it from 5 to 3, and looks like we need to increase maximum number of particles, because 400's definitely not enough. I will set it to 800's, and yeah, it's enough for this effect. I'll edit the path again, and yep, that's it. So thank you for your attention. Bye bye.